My ex-husband spent years mocking me. He called me weak, timid, and incapable of standing up for myself. What he never knew was that before I became a mother, I had spent 25 years serving in one of the most dangerous military units in the world. I kept that chapter of my life hidden from everyone, including him. Then one evening, my daughter sent me a message containing a secret distress code that only a handful of people on Earth would recognize. 12 minutes later, everything changed. For nearly 15 years, my ex-husband believed he knew exactly who I was. During our marriage, I rarely argued, avoided confrontation, and focused all my energy on raising our daughter. He interpreted my silence as weakness. After the divorce, his attitude only became worse. Every conversation felt like a reminder that he thought he had won. He constantly bragged about his success, his expensive lifestyle, and his influence over everyone around him. Whenever he spoke to me, there was always a subtle smirk on his face, as if he enjoyed reminding me that I would never measure up to him. What he never knew was that long before I met him, I had spent 25 years serving in elite military operations. My missions required secrecy, discipline, and the ability to disappear into ordinary life without drawing attention. When I retired, I promised myself that I would leave that world behind forever. I wanted a peaceful life and a chance to be a normal mother. Keeping my past hidden was easy because I had become an expert at blending in. Even during our marriage, I never gave him a reason to suspect the truth. Everything changed on a quiet Tuesday evening. I was making dinner when my phone vibrated. The message came from my daughter. At first glance, it looked harmless. It contained a random phrase and a sequence of numbers. To anyone else, it would have looked like a typing mistake, but my heart immediately froze. Years earlier, I had taught my daughter a special emergency code. If she was ever in danger and unable to ask for help directly, she could send that exact sequence. The moment I saw it, I knew something was terribly wrong. I called her instantly, but there was no answer. A second message appeared a few moments later. It contained only 2 words. Stay away. The wording made no sense because it was not how my daughter normally communicated. That was when I realized someone else might be watching her. Every instinct from my years of training came rushing back. The peaceful life I had built disappeared in an instant, replaced by the focus and urgency I thought I had left behind forever. Within minutes, I started gathering information. I contacted trusted former colleagues who owed me favors from years ago. While most people would have spent hours trying to understand what was happening, I had access to resources that allowed me to move much faster. The information that came back shocked me. My daughter had recently become involved with a group of investors connected to a business venture controlled by my ex-husband. On paper, everything looked legitimate, but hidden beneath the surface were signs of financial fraud and manipulation. My daughter had discovered something she was never supposed to see. The deeper we investigated, the worse the situation became. Evidence suggested that several people had already lost enormous amounts of money. Anyone who threatened to expose the operation was pressured into silence. My daughter had unknowingly collected documents that could reveal everything. Once the people involved realized what she had found, they began monitoring her movements. She understood the danger and sent the only message she knew I would recognize. Suddenly, the man who had spent years mocking me was connected to something far darker than simple arrogance. The turning point arrived when we located a private storage facility linked to one of the companies involved. Inside were records, contracts, financial transfers, and communications that connected multiple individuals to the scheme. My former team helped verify the evidence while remaining completely within legal boundaries. The proof was overwhelming. For years, my ex-husband had hidden behind expensive suits, polished speeches, and a carefully crafted public image. Now that image was beginning to crack. The truth was finally surfacing, and there was no way to stop it. The climax came during a major business event attended by investors, local media, and several influential partners. My ex-husband stood confidently on stage, completely unaware of what was about to happen. Authorities arrived with warrants supported by the evidence that had been gathered. Conversations stopped. Cameras turned. The room fell silent as the details were revealed. The same man who once laughed at me suddenly looked terrified. His empire began collapsing in front of hundreds of witnesses. The expression on his face told me he had finally realized he never truly knew who I was. After the investigation concluded, my daughter was safe, and the people responsible faced the consequences of their actions. Weeks later, my ex-husband requested a meeting. For the first time in our lives, he spoke without arrogance. He admitted that he had spent years underestimating me because he confused kindness with weakness. I listened quietly and allowed him to finish. Then I told him something I had never said before. Strength is not about making others feel small. Real strength is protecting the people you love when they need you most. Today, my daughter is thriving, and our relationship is stronger than ever. Most people who meet me still see an ordinary woman living an ordinary life. That is perfectly fine with me. The greatest lesson from this experience is that you never truly know what battles someone has fought or what abilities they carry beneath the surface. My ex-husband spent years believing I was powerless. It took a single distress code and 12 unforgettable minutes for him to learn how wrong he had been. The people who laughed at her thought silence meant weakness. They thought kindness meant surrender. But when her daughter needed help, a hidden warrior stepped out of the shadows, and by the time the truth was exposed, the man who mocked her for years realized the most dangerous person in the room was the woman he never bothered to understand.